Hello and welcome. It is Vintage Super League time once again. Luis predicted that Kai Budde would be on an Oath deck, and he is. I predicted that Eric would be on either Storm or Workshops, and he isn't. Look at that.
Well, he's got Standstill in his opening hand, so I guess where he's on that.
Yeah, it looks like a Landstill deck. Interesting.
He's on the play, which, I mean, obviously being on the play is great in Vintage regardless, but the card Standstill really does reward you for going first.
Now, I remember Eric played a version of this deck, was it a couple tries ago?
Yeah, he beat me with it very badly.
Yeah, his claim was that it was just great against Workshops, right? Is that supposed to be the theory?
Yes.
You have a bunch of land, you have main deck Crucible.
I was playing Workshops, and he beat me handily, so... So Eric's leading with a Preordain here instead of Mox into Standstill, which I don't know if that's the normal play to make, but I guess if you're concerned that you might be playing against a deck with Wasteland, that has some amount of safety to it. Also, Eric doesn't have a Mishra's Factory or a land, so by doing this, he actually found a Sensei's Top, which is a very good start here. Though, funnily enough, Kai's going to get to Mind Break Trap the Sensei's Top if he wants to, which I would certainly take the opportunity to do so.
Hilarious. It is the third spell of the turn. Mox Emerald Preordain, and yep, looks like that's exactly what Kai's going to do. No longer has a blue card for his Force of Will, but that's all right.
He's got Dak, so...
Oh, Dak, my bad.
Besides being the greatest thief in the multiverse, he's also a blue card.
It's one of the reasons he's the greatest thief in the multiverse.
Exactly. You can't call yourself the greatest thief in the multiverse without being blue. So Kai still hasn't really given up what he's playing here.
Volcanic Island rules some stuff out.
It definitely does. Mind Break Trap 2. If I were Eric, I would be considering that you could be playing like a Standstill Mirror, but I would more likely put Kai in maybe like a Grixis deck. Or if Eric thinks that Kai is on Oath, then he could think that Kai is on Rich Shea's, 4-color Oath deck with like Void Winnowers and stuff like that, which, as it turns out, Kai's looking like right now. Or it could just be like Rug Oath of some kind. But I think it's more likely that Kai has those other cards that we're talked about.
So Eric is going to go for Standstill, and it's a kind of a tough spot for Kai.
Yeah, this is
the Will Standstill.
I hate Force of Will and Standstill, but giving your opponent 3 cards is also pretty bad, and Kai's hand does not have a lot of lands. One of the ways to kind of beat Standstill is to just keep playing lands. If Kai had a Forbidden Orchard in his hand instead of a Mana Confluence, I think he'd be much more likely to just let Standstill resolve and just play Oath and try to force any follow-up to Oath. Or any counterspell for Oath, but given that Kai doesn't have that and is just going to be forced to play, Force of Will and Standstill is like Force of Will and Ancestral.
Pretty much. Which again is, you're not happy to do it, but sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong.
Yeah.
The fact that he drew Misstep as his blue card makes this force slightly less painful than losing your deck in what's pretty clearly a blue mirror. I mean, mirror. They're both playing blue cards.
Right. I would say that if Kai does force, he's more likely to pitch... Well, actually, he might be more likely to pitch Dak here because Mental Misstep counters cards like Spell Pierce. Well, counters cards like Spell Pierce. That's actually it. It doesn't counter Flusterstorm. So, but I still think he's pitching Dak. So Kai's going to get to resolve Oath here. We do know this. And that actually puts Eric in kind of a tough spot because... Eric is unable. You cannot play Standstill into an Oath of Druids. Then Kai just says go until he draws a Forbidden Orchard.
Right. Yeah, there's the Oath. Eric can't do anything about it. Now, Eric's not going to be playing creatures of his own in this deck, so he's not going to trigger the Oath. The real question is, can Kai come up with Forbidden Orchard?
Right. If I were Eric, I'd be tempted to just go Crucible into Misty. Playing Standstill, well, Eric drew the Mishra's Factory right away. That is one benefit to playing Standstill. So I could definitely see Eric just getting aggro here.
Yeah, he clearly wanted to resolve the Standstill while Kai was tapped out.
And Kai clearly doesn't have a Forbidden Orchard, otherwise he would have played it along with the Oaths. And he played Mana Confluence, which indicates probably no fetch land. Otherwise he could just get a green source. So Kai might be in a spot where he just can't do anything. The good thing is for Kai, he wouldn't be casting any spells here anyway, so this doesn't change all that much for him. Eric really looking for strip mine of some kind. Oh, that's an awkward draw.
Oops.
Had he known that he was drawing Ancestral Recall, he clearly would not have cast Standstill there.
Yeah, but his Crucible would have gotten blown up by Ancient Grudge.
True. You would have gotten a Misty Rainforest out of it. Ooh, and there we go.
Hello, Forbidden Orchard for Kai.
Yeah, Eric's going to be forced to break his own standstill here, potentially. I mean,
Yeah.
it looks like he's not interested though.
Well, he could break it with the plow, right? He could break it with the plow on Kai's end step. Maybe make Kai discard some cards.
So now Eric's got to hope that Kai hits Void Winnower or Inferno Titan. If Kai's using the same list that Rich has been playing.
We're about to find out, I would think, which version of Oath Kai's actually on.
Because if Kai hits one of those, it's actually not the end of the world. Eric does have some removal spells.
He hit Void Winnower. Looks like he's on Rich Shea's Odd Oath list. This card's crazy. Your opponent can't cast even spells. So they can't cast Tendrils. They can't cast Dread Return. The most interesting thing, 0 is an even number, right? It shuts off Moxes and Black Lotus and whatnot as well.
Right. So, Eric
I guess that's the point. I haven't actually had the chance to play with this card much. Have you?
No, I mean, not Vintage.
Right, that's what I meant.
Yeah. Eric, I think he's still going to be forced to break his own standstill here, because if he just sits there, Kai just orchards again and then gets another creature. Though I don't know that, but Eric didn't do anything end of turn.
Yeah,
so
he chose not to plow it.
Like, had he cast Swords to Plowshares there, Kai would have been able to counter with Mental Misstep and counter with Flusterstorm. But curious what Eric's plan to navigate through here is, because it does not look like he's got a great set of lines here.
One of these 2-mana enchantments looks better than the other right now.
And they're both working for Kai.
Yeah, true.
So Kai's got to decide if he wants to make another Orchard token and then Oath again. He might actually be in the spot where he's worried about milling too many cards and then getting decked by a standstill, though that is very implausible.
So wait, it's Eric's end step and Kai's deciding exactly that?
Yeah, basically Kai's deciding whether he wants to tap his Forbidden Orchard or not.
What would you do?
I think I would probably do that. Give Eric a token, Oath again.
Yeah, presumably Kai has, what, a Grizzlebrand, and is it still Inferno Titan? Is that the latest and greatest?
I guess the idea is that you can cast it as well.
Yeah, that's definitely part of the idea. For a while it was Titania? Priestess of Argoth or something? The 5/3 that brings a land from your graveyard back into play, which I know Rich really liked again in the Shops matchup. And again, it was a card that could just be cast.
All right, I did not even know what that card was, but
you missed that phase. I probably have the name wrong, but something of Argoth. Rich is in chat saying that Inferno Titan has been amazing, and Titania wasn't as good.
Well, there's Grizzlebrand.
Yes, Kai did in fact decide he wanted to Oath again.
Conveniently enough, Void Winnower stops the spirit tokens from blocking.
Zeros, no blocking. It's pretty funny. Does Eric have any chance in this game at this point?
No, I don't think so. The fact that Kai has 2 counterspells and a Grizzlebrand activation and Swords to Plowshares is going to give Kai enough life. I don't know exactly how Eric is going to maneuver out of this.
Yeah, he now definitely has to break his own standstill with a plow. Kai draws 3. Plow's going to run into Mental Misstep. So there's 2 life. Eric can't do anything about this. Yeah, he's done. He's not even going to go through the motions of the other plower and the ancestral. All right, sideboard time. Probably not the matchup either player was expecting when they built their main deck.
Yeah, I would imagine that's true.
Containment Priest for Eric? Is that what's going in?
That's what it looks like. Yeah, and then looks like Crucible went out, and that's basically it. Kai deciding whether he wants Elish Norn or not, and took out Mindbreak Trap, presumably. It looks like he's actually got it still in the deck, so...
Yeah, I think those are the extra Mindbreak Traps for the Storm deck that he thought Eric would be playing.
Right. So.
Yeah, I don't know what Kai's going to have for land still. It's just like, what do you have for the blue mirror, right? You just
It's
treat it
basically
a
just
blue
like, yeah, it's just a blue control deck that Kai has to now deal with. Whatever he had a plan against blue control, I'm sure, but whatever it ends up being, that's what he's gonna put in here. It looks like he might go heavier on Ancient Grudges.
That is a lot of Ancient Grudges.
Part of the advantage there is that Ancient Grudge can snipe Grafdigger's Cage, which you've got to think might be coming in out of the sideboard. Though I don't think Eric has any.
No, I just saw the Containment Priests. It is the most likely sideboard card for Oath decks to have to worry about, for sure.
Yeah.
I guess he didn't see a Crucible, but he probably knows that the deck tends to run Crucible.
Yeah, and I mean, Crucible is not the most fearsome card for the Oath deck anyway. Like, Crucible Wasteland is annoying, but a lot of the Oath deck's wins come from just playing like fairly early Oaths, and the Crucible does not really interact with that. One of the outs Eric had last game was to maybe get out a Wasteland, and then when Kai plays Orchard, you waste the Orchard, and then you swords your own Spirit token the one time.
Sure.
But Eric did not find a Wasteland and was so unable to do that.
All right, so that's Duress, and what are the blue cards?
I can't even tell, honestly. It looks like Ataxian Probes, maybe? Yeah. Some Phyrexian mana cards.
Yeah.
And Kai going pretty deep on sideboarding here.
Who's supposed to be favored in this matchup?
I don't know. I have not played against this particular version of Oath, so I don't really know what it looks like. I mean, I thought Eric was doing all right until Kai drew Forbidden Orchard. So,
right.
And Kai really couldn't cast very many spells to go look for it without triggering a standstill. So, I mean, that game, I'm not sure exactly what's supposed to happen there.
Right.
This hand looks pretty good from Eric's side.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that looks great.
He gets to go...
Kai does have a misstep and a force.
Kai doesn't have great lands. I mean, I would keep this hand if I were Kai, for sure. But if Eric goes
tropical.
Island Ancestral, Kai goes Misstep it, Eric probably forces back pitching Mana Drain. Maybe he doesn't, maybe he does. But if he does, Kai forces back, probably forced to pitch like Dak or Cruise, because you almost can't get rid of Probe here, because otherwise you might just not play a land on turn 2.
Yeah, just tropical is not a great mana base.
Yeah, obviously Rich is in the chat here. So he might be able to answer this better than I can, but my guess is that the Oath mana base does lead to some hands like that, where actually Kai chose to mulligan, despite that hand. If it could cast Black Sources, I imagine it would have been a very easy keep.
Yeah.
So I think I would have kept that hand anyway.
Yeah, he's on the draw too, so
yeah,
I would have kept it.
Also, I mean, as per the conversation that Kai and I had earlier on Twitter, you don't top 8 the Pro Tour if you mulligan borderline hands. So him in particular was complaining about the fact that he looked at me, PV, and Martin Weller's draft viewers, and like, I moved into red-green late in pack 1 and got an 8th pick red-green rare, like, that sort of thing. So Kai is putting Orchard on top, which I think you have to. It's a black source. So this is where Orchard punishes you. Kai could lose the game to this Orchard really easily. Like,
especially
imagine
when Eric sticks a standstill and Kai's giving him a bunch of spirit tokens to win with.
Like, imagine if Kai leads on Duress or Thoughtseize. It doesn't even matter if they resolve it. If he takes something, Eric then goes Mishra's Factory standstill and just has 3 power on the board.
Yup. Eric going to go for this Ancestral on Kai's upkeep?
I would imagine so. He's probably going to target himself, too.
Just try to do play-by-play.
Well, I was just pointing out the advantage of that. And see, Kai's not choosing to use Orchard for black, so he kept it just as a combo piece. Maybe he'll cast Thoughtseize later, and Eric's got a Monastery Mentor there, so he's got another kill condition besides Mishra's Factory, apparently.
Huh.
So the question is, yep, Eric does in fact play Standstill here, and he could have kept Mana Drain up, but he's going to play Standstill instead, punish Kai for maybe having a Landlight hand.
Kai did mulligan. Yeah.
Gataxian Probe, a lot less good when your opponent has standstill. It is very much not free to cycle. Eric is just going straight for the life total here.
What else is he going to do?
I think there's some merit to considering just going Scalding Tarn Go to have mana drain up, but the fact that Eric has double Force of Will in hand probably makes him pretty confident that he's not going to need that many counters.
With an additional standstill as well, I think he'd be happy for Kai to try to cast a spell. He doesn't want to disincentivize that by having up blue.
Right. Also, Eric doesn't have a lot of spells he can play at instant speed, so if Kai had an instant, Eric might have to end up discarding. Here I like attacking for 2 and leaving drain up, though. I don't think there's any reason to get the extra point in here. Although I guess it's an extra 2 points. You could just
2 points, yeah, it's 4.
You could just animate both. I guess Eric's just going for it. It's unclear whether Kai would be able to do anything this game even if Eric didn't have standstill in the 2 places.
True.
Like, I guess he would cast Dakvaden, but Planeswalkers and Forbidden Orchard also do not combine very well. Oh, that was actually a really good draw for Kai, because now, when Eric attacks with Mishra's, Kai can break standstill on Eric's turn, which is preferable, and Ancient Grudge lets him kill both Mishra's factories. Containment Priest doesn't change a ton.
So this is just blue-white that we've seen so far out of Eric? I should have looked during sideboarding.
I mean, he's got Scalding Tarn. Maybe he could be fetching red. Like, Oath decks do sometimes play red sources or red cards, but so far we haven't seen that. So Eric's going to just attack for 3 here, leaving up Drain plus Containment Priest. Containment Priest also stops Show and Tell. Kai's now going to go for the Ancient Grudge here.
Yep, Mishra is an artifact creature. Eric gets to draw his standstill cards and then decide if he wants to fight.
I would be tempted to cast a counterspell here, if only for the sole reason that you're going to have to discard anyway. You might as well trade those cards for something. Like Force Pitching Misstep doesn't sound bad to me.
He has a 3rd force off to the right of his hand, by the way. It's funny, he could mana drain here, but he'd get the mana during his 2nd main phase. It is the next main phase is when you get the mana. He's played a land already. I mean, he could almost get the white and then Monastery Mentor off 1 white mana, but I think he already played a land this turn.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I like Force Pitching Misstep.
I mean, with 10 cards in his hand.
Or he's just going to pitch Brainstorm here since he doesn't even need more cards. Kai can Flashback Grudge, or he can cast Flusterstorm. Eric's fine getting into a bit of a counter war here. I guess Flusterstorm means that the force is going to get countered. Eric could then force again. I like forcing Grudge a little less the 2nd time since you're just not that worried about it.
Yeah, the first one means you don't have to discard 2 cards.
Right.
The second one starts to sting a little. And he's probably gets to follow up with a post-combat new standstill, right?
He certainly can. He might be in a spot where he's got enough cards that it's just not that necessary. Though now that Kai's tapping the Forbidden Orchard, I'm just going to slam standstill. You still got 2 forces. Kai only has 3 land in play.
2 forces, or you want to fight this Grudge? That's another time.
I would let this resolve, I think, and then just play another standstill. You do get 2 points of damage through here. That part is nice, but
I think I force a will here.
Interesting. So given that, I would be less inclined to play the 2nd standstill because I'd rather leave Grudge Containment Priest up and to set up for next turn. But Eric's just going to slam. Yeah, sorry, the Drain Containment Priest. Eric's just going to play standstill. Kai is basically forced to break this right away, though.
Yeah, I like the standstill. You've still got Force of Will. I mean, what's he going to do to you that's going to be insane? What, he's going to go Oath and defend it, but then you still have Containment Priest.
Right.
Like, I don't know what Kai can do that would be so scary. I think you're just supposed to stand still. He's even got a Caracas.
Yeah.
Nice Oath of Druids creature.
Though, it's worth noting this Oath deck doesn't have all legendary creatures. Void Winter and Inferno Titan are both just creatures, so they do get around Caracas.
And Grizzlebrand doesn't have to attack to give value. Still funny.
Well, Crocus is typically a very good card against Oath. This build mitigates that a little bit, though.
Fair.
So, Eric letting the probe resolve here, just so Kai can see that he's got to contend with Force, Mental Misstep, Mana Drain, Containment Priest. So Kai can cast one of his black spells here. He also drew what appears to be a Preordain, though, honestly. But, yeah, I really hate giving my opponent a Forbidden Orchard token on a 7. Part of the problem here is that even Kai might not be able to mount a defense to the Factories and Spirit tokens. Even like Kai can't even cast Thoughtseize here. He just dies if he casts Thoughtseize. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how Kai navigates out of this one. He might have to do something like cast Dak or even Jace just to draw cards, but I don't really know how he's going to end up just like finding an Oath and having a time. The thing is, even if Kai had an Oath, like next turn, it wouldn't be fast enough.
Yeah, Rich Shea was saying in the chat earlier that if the game goes long, it favors standstill. And we've seen that in these two games. Like, I have no idea how Kai gets back into this. It feels like if he falls behind, he's just in trouble. But if he can get a quick Oath down, he wins those games.
Yeah, that's always been Oath's strength, is that it can just cast an Oath on turn 1 or turn 2 and win the game. It's a 2-mana card that if you have a Forbidden Orchard, wins you the game. But the deck does have a lot of kind of poor cards if it goes the long game, and I like Oath. I played it in VSL before, but Forbidden Orchard is not a good card. If you're not using it to enable Oath, it's a horrendous card. You cast it and you just die to the spirits. So,
I can't win with this hand.
Yeah, wisely letting Dak resolve. I think that you're fine with that.
It's just Kai digging desperately for something.
Yeah, probably pitching like Scalding Tarn Thoughtseize here and then going Island Preordain would be my guess. I mean, he could keep the Black Source and Scalding Tarn, but I don't think you want to do that. I think it's a pretty easy misstep. You're fine trading misstep here. Moxjet had to have been a relevant draw there. So Eric's got to put Kai at a 2-turn clock, but you kind of want to have Drain Up and Containment Priest in play. So you can attack with just one Factory and pump it. Attack Kai for 4 down to 3, and that leaves up blue, 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 white, which lets you cast Mana Drain, Force Pitching Jace, and Containment Priest. Your other alternative, though, is to get Kai down to 2. Or actually, Eric has lethal. Eric could kill Dak Faden here, and then next turn still have 7 points of power with the Containment Priest.
Interesting.
Oh, looks like he's just going in for 5.
Yeah, it does not seem interested in leaving up Containment Priest Mana Drain.
Though, if you think that Kai is on Rich Shea's list, then you don't need to leave up Containment Priest because it doesn't have Show and Tell, he just has Oath. So unless you get hit by Oath Time Walk, you don't actually need the Priest in play right now.
You have to have him on Rich Shea's list. He oathed out of Void Winnower.
Yeah, it's not
like
if
I'm Eric, I have the Power 9 Challenge top 8 deck list open in a browser tab right now.
Right. But it's not to say that Kai couldn't have made a few changes. Like
I still have the list up and assume that until proven otherwise.
Yeah, I agree with you. So, Kai desperately dacking into Brainstorm here. Eric deciding he feels to counterspell the Brainstorm. He's not going to, and then now Kai is dead.
On to game 3. Wow, that's a lot of blue cards in Eric's list. It's almost mono blue.
Yes, it does not appear to have another color. He does have
I mean, it's a couple of mentors and a couple of containment priests.
And
Other
a
than
couple
that,
of disenchants as well.
ooh, disenchant. That's exciting.
It's really funny to me that disenchant is a vintage playable, given that it's just like the first artifact enchantment removal printed. Like, what are the odds that that ended up being the best overall?
No, you're right. It is a little odd.
But, and unfortunately, in the case of Void Winter, it's also a little even. So
That's pretty good. Well, that should get a good score from the chat room.
yeah, just like all of them. But one of the things to note is that against Kai's list, or Rich Shay's list, whatever you want to call it, Disenchant is pretty good, because when you don't have the standstill backup plan, Disenchant does deal with the primary threat, which is Oath. Of course, Rich's list does have Dak, Jace, and Hardcast Inferno Titan as additional ways to end the game, so it's not like just game over, but Disenchant killing their primary threat is important.
Somehow you got a Z minus. I don't know what a Z minus is.
I could not say.
There's a lot of A pluses in there, though. Part of the reason I think Disenchant is still state of the art is that, I mean, R&D went through a long phase where it just didn't think white was supposed to be that good at artifact removal, right? It tried to say green is the best color if you're trying to combine artifact and enchantment removal. And so there just haven't been that many Disenchant effects printed in white in, decades.
Kai's hand not looking great here. Again, he doesn't have Forbidden Orchard. He just has a Mana Confluence. He does have the Oath. And he has Thoughtseize Misstep. So he's got 2 pieces of Disruption. This is kind of like the other hand he ended up mulliganing. All right, This is a much better hand. He's got Turn on Oath, but he also is going to get to look at Eric's hand and see that Eric has Landmox Disenchant ×2.
Wow.
Disenchant looking really good right here, and Wasteland Crucible also looking good. So Kai might have to...
That is the best hand I could imagine without a blue card. How is Eric's hand this good with no blue cards in it?
Right, it's awesome. It's got turn 1 Disenchant to solve the turn 1 Oath. You have it through a Thoughtseize, though not a counterspell because you don't have time to cast both on turn 1. And you have Wasteland Crucible as additional disruption. Eric also potentially has the option of disenchanting a Mox or something like that, though you'd have to be pretty confident before you started pointing your Oath Killers at their Moxen.
Force a Will on top that Kai is going to probe into.
Yeah, he can probe into it, but I'm curious if he plays the Oath on turn 1. He sees that Eric's going to disenchant on turn 1. You don't really want to force that when you know there's a second one coming. Kai also has the additional headache of if he doesn't play Oath turn 1, if he goes Trop, Preordain, Go, Eric's just going to Wasteland his Trop on turn 1. So Eric's in a much better spot than he was in actually the previous 2 games. Though I guess last game he had Ancestral on turn 1, that's pretty good. But the way these opening hands line up is just very favorable to Eric.
True that. Does Kai just preordain now? Dig for land while he can?
I think so. I think that you can't go turn 1 Oath here. The only advantage of going turn 1 Oath is that if you think Eric's going to go turn 1 Disenchant, but Eric might still just Wasteland you, and you'll have an Oath in play and not be able to cast any spells. Which is
there's not like Kai has an Orchard.
Yeah, if Kai had an Orchard, his hand would obviously be great. You'd have turn 1 Oath Orchard, but I think Preordaining is the least risky. Also, you get to cast Preordain before Eric draws Mental Misstep. Though Kai could get greedy here. He could just go Trop, Mox, Oath, figure Eric's going to go Land Mox Disenchant, and then get to cast Preordain on turn 2 without getting your land wasted. But I don't know. The upside of that is that you use Eric's turn 1. But if you go Trop, Preordain, and Eric Wastelands, you kind of also used his turn 1. So I don't know. It's close. No, I'm not happy if I'm Kai no matter what. I mean,
right.
Eric's hand of Disenchant plus Wasteland plus Disenchant plus Mox, the Mox is actually very important here, makes Kai's opening hand of turn on Oath with Force Backup, turn 2 Preordain much worse than it would otherwise be. Otherwise, this hand would be fantastic.
All right, so, Kai has decided on the Preordain.
Yeah, I think that's what I would do as well.
He does find 2 mana sources, a Tarn and a Pearl.
Yeah, my guess is
top.
You can't keep the Pearl, I don't think. It doesn't cast anything. The problem is you're going to have enough cards for Dig by the time you get to 2 blue, most likely, but you're not going to have double blue necessarily. Scalding Tarn kind of does what you need. Yeah, my inclination would be to not keep Pearl. I would probably keep the... Oh, did Kai just bottom both? No, he kept Tarn.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I would not keep the Pearl. I would keep the Scalding Tarn.
I'll buy that.
Eric's got an interesting decision here, too. Does he cast Wasteland on turn or use Wasteland on turn 1? Oh,
Oh, jeez.
that's another decision. He could go Island Mox Standstill,
Yup.
but and then if Kai casts an oath, you break the standstill. That actually sounds pretty good. I would be tempted to do that.
He
Kai
even gets the
Mulligan,
Wasteland.
Kai Mulligan kept one on top. Yeah. You could just Wasteland and just try to hope that Kai doesn't have a follow up, but that doesn't seem great to me.
No, I like Standstill better than just Wasteland.
It is unfortunate that if you play Standstill, you don't get to
Crucible.
you don't get to play your Wasteland and have that in play yet. But I like just playing Standstill. If I'm Kai, I'm probably forcing this too. I don't know. You might have the Crucible is a huge threat too. All your lands are non-basic. So
And Kai knows Eric has the Crucible. He also knows Eric just drew the Standstill. That's tough.
yeah, Kai knows the rest of Eric's hand because of the Taxian Probe. But if Kai forces pitching the dig through time, Kai also what's his game plan from there? He's got no cards in his hand. He's got 2 mana sources which no longer do anything because dig was his expensive card, and he has an oath which is basically blanked by the double disenchant. Kai's best hope might be to let this resolve and just sit there, knowing that his hand isn't getting they're both just drawing 1 card a turn, but Eric's so far ahead right now. This might give him a chance to even up because Eric can't force Kai to break standstill anytime soon.
Yeah, I'll buy that.
Then Kai can maybe try to set up like breaking standstill at the end of Eric's turn with like a dig through time.
Kai has in fact let it resolve. Ooh.
Well, that's a new plan. If Kai knew that was happening, he would actually do the same thing. Eric might actually just lose here. Eric needs to draw a Mox off of the or a counterspell off of the standstill. Otherwise, he's not going to have time to cast both disenchants. So he drew a
Containment Priest.
Containment Priest.
But he needs a blue card.
He now needs a blue card or a Mox. Or a 1 mana counterspell of some kind. We're not even going to see what Eric drew.
Nope. Tundra.
Ah.
Eric is going to lose this game?
Yeah, it's very difficult to imagine Eric losing this game, but Kai had to draw exactly Orchard, and Eric had to not draw a Mox or a counterspell, or once he drew the Forcible, he actually just didn't draw a blue card to go with it.
Right.
This is now looking like Kai is going to win this game. Because Eric doesn't have a way to resolve 2 things. What Eric could do is he could disenchant the Oath, Kai forces it, and then Eric hopes Kai hits, I guess, Inferno Titan or Void Winter, and then Eric draws Swords to Plowshares and goes Swords to Plowshares plus Disenchant or Containment Priest. Like, Eric has to know this isn't going to work because Kai chose to cast the Oath with the Orchard knowing Eric had Disenchants.
Right. Yeah, Eric knows he has a force. Should know.
Kai could also Oath into Elish Norn, which doesn't actually end the game because Eric can no longer Oath, or Kai can no longer Oath because Elish Norn will kill all the Spirit tokens from Eric. Which then gives Eric a couple times to find Swords to Plowshares after killing the Orth. It depends how many swords he has left in his deck.
Kai hits Void Winnower. It also turns off the disenchants.
True. And the Containment Priest. Basically everything.
Wow, what a crazy sequence. It's just like game 1 that Forbidden Orchard came off the top of the deck on exactly the perfect turn.
So, I don't know how many creatures Kai has in, but he's really hoping not to hit Elish Norn here. Well, we'll see if the Spirit token disappears.
It is Elish Norn.
So that means that this game is not over yet. Eric is on a 5-turn clock, but he's going to be able to. First of all, he doesn't even have to get rid of the Oath. Elish Norn in play just stops the Oath from.
He can Oath himself. Like, he can go get a Monastery Mentor or something if he wants to. I don't know why
he can't. It would just go to the graveyard.
Is there any value to him having stuff in his graveyard? I mean, he probably has just the 2.
I mean, he probably has like a. He might have a Dredge card, yeah.
Delspell, yeah.
Delspell.
We've only seen creatures that die to Elish Norn, so.
Eric could also find Caracas here.
Sure.
If Eric finds Caracas,
He can oath Caracas into the graveyard and play.
oh, that's actually a good reason to oath. Though he's not going to be able to do it this turn if Kai grudges the Mox, because he needs to play Crucible and play Caracas in the same fell swoop. So I probably would not oath this turn. It's my guess. So, but, or maybe you do. Maybe you do this turn because if you miss this turn, you want to try to hit it next turn. Depends how many creatures Eric has in his deck too. I mean, he doesn't want to mill like too many cards. Like his deck doesn't win super quickly. But I guess with a Crucible in hand, you're just like highly incentivized to just use Oath, I suppose.
It looked like it was something like 2 Containing Priest, 2 Mentor. It's my guess anyway. I think that's what I saw from sideboarding.
Yeah, it depends on what he left in the deck. I guess we did see Mentor in game 2. So
yeah.
But Kai has no cards in hand.
Right.
Not that Eric actually has any permission. Eric's hand is now all lands, Crucible, and 2 white cards that don't do anything, and a Force of Will. So
Eric does decide to.
Oh wow! Eric found the Swords to Plowshares. So
whoa! Good. The oathing worked out. He spilled everything until he hit the plow. Now, can we get a look at Eric's graveyard to see? I see Wastelands. It's Caracas is the super exciting one.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of Mishra's Factories too. So Eric actually has a lot of ways he can play this. He's just going to disenchant Oath and I guess Swords Elishnorn.
Sure.
If I were Eric, I would have been tempted to Swords Elishnorn and say go. Kai's going to... Oh no, Kai knows you have the disenchant. He's not going to tap the Oath. So Kai... You know, even if Kai draws another Oath here right off the top, then Eric's going to be able to have a Containment Priest for it. Well, Kai drew Gristlebrand, which is not great for him. And now Eric drew the second Forceful. Actually, this game has been super swingy. Eric,
we're done. Eric
from
wins.
being unable to lose to unable to win to unable to lose. Because now Eric, he can't just slam Crucible because Kai does have that Ancient Grudge still. But Eric can still start wasting. He still has a Wasteland in his hand. He could just go Wasteland, probably your Volcanic or something, and then just say go, and then play a Containment Priest, and then have Force of Will up. I guess he's just going to play the Crucible to get a land here. I would be tempted to get Wasteland, but he could just get Factory and just try to up the pressure here.
Yep. He can also Force of Will the Ancient Grudge.
Yeah, that's a little aggressive. I really don't. I would not be comfortable doing that if I were Eric.
I mean, it's a Crucible Wasteland lock against a guy who's got 1 card in his hand that just came off the top of his library.
That is true. Maybe it's right. I think that you could certainly think about it.
I mean, the fact that Eric has Containment Priest is, I think, what makes it maybe okay to force Ancient Grudge. If he didn't have the Containment Priest, I'm definitely holding on to my Force. But
right. The Containment Priest is a big deal. What I think I'd be tempted to do if I were Eric is resolve Containment Priest, and then once that's in play, I'm much more likely to want to fight over Crucible. Once I know I'm protected from just like a random show and tell that Kai may have in his deck or a random Oath, then I'm fine fighting over Crucible.
I'll buy that. I also like Wastelanding there. If he's trying to set up a Wasteland lock, he wants to play Crucible and Wasteland next turn.
So Eric's going to Containment Priest in response in case Kai draws like blue card to go with his Force of Will. Eric, of course, doesn't know that Kai's on Gristlebrand and nothing else. So now here's where I'd be more tempted to just go Crucible, Wasteland, to just try to up the pressure.
Yep.
And here's where I like attacking all the non-Orchard lands. You kind of already have Oath covered with Containment Priest. You really want to just punish Kai for casting any spells. Eric can use Crucible as just straight up Stone Rain, right? He can cast Crucible and then play Wasteland and then let it get grudged. He could also try to wait for another Wasteland so that he could waste the Orchard and then be safe from grudge. But here's why wasting the Trop is really good. It forces
he has to tap Orchard for Ancient Grudge flashback.
Right.
Is Kai supposed to board in Elishnorn for this matchup?
Everyone in the chat is saying no. It depends on what you've seen from them. I
Okay,
think
Eric does use Force of Will to defend Crucible from Ancient.
I like that. This really, it gives kind of like a one-turn window to do something, but it really locks him out of the game if he doesn't do anything else. I've liked Elish Norn against Delver decks, but the fact that I just don't think it interacts well with Containment Priest. That's not one of the creatures you can actually kill with it, is my problem. Is they have a Containment Priest, you're just not getting Elish Norn into play unless you're hardcasting it, which I guess I did do in one of the seasons. But for the most part, I don't think that's where you want to be. And this is the reason why, is that it gives Eric outs to just win the game still, even after a resolved oath. Or like a successful oath. Yeah, Eric now, I don't believe can lose, because Kai's got no land except for the one orchard in his hand. He's on a 4-turn clock, which I guess is not super fast, but he can't deal with Containment Priest, and Eric's got a Mana Drain ready.
He can't deal with Containment Priest or Crucible or Mana Drain, is how I see it. Oh, that was probably the best draw.
Yeah, he deals with one of those things.
Yeah, I guess you Mana Drain here to deny the information.
And the thing is, now that Eric doesn't have to play Wasteland, he can just play a Mishra's Factory to up the clock. Oh, Time Walk. Well, that just hurries things up. I honestly don't think that it would have changed the outcome very much. So he gets attack Kai down to 1 here. Kai goes to 8, and the next turn Eric goes play Factory, Animate Factory, Pump Factory, attack for 7. Kai's at 1. I don't see what he could have done before then, but he certainly can't do anything afterwards.
Yeah. Looks like Eric Froehlich is going to pick up win number 5, putting himself in great position to make the playoffs. We'll have to see if Webb stays on top of the field, but Eric at 5-2, pretty good shape. Kai at 2-5 will continue to be tied for last, probably, but
or
the relegation fight.
Tied for last, if you will.
Yeah. He can't be last all by himself because there's a pair of 2-4s paired against each other. So one of us has to lose. That match is coming up next, in fact. It will be me against Chris Pakula coming right up. Thanks for hanging out, Luis.
Yeah, no problem.
Congratulations once again on the awesome weekend. And good luck in a couple of rounds.
Sounds good. We'll see you back soon.
All right. Stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back.
With Hookah Trade, the world is your trade binder.